All right, guys, I gotta make a video about something that isn't a U.S. presidential election because honestly, what more is there to say right now? The weirdos are just as weird. The people that are excited and reinvigorated are just as excited and reinvigorated. So I just be talking in circles at this point. Let things boil on that for another couple weeks on end. Have a debate or something, and then I'll chime in with any developments from any of that. Um, I am just I'm just utterly captivated by the turn that this war in Ukraine has taken. This is a story that I've been following more than anything else in the past almost 3 years now, two and a half. Um, and I sure didn't have on my bingo card the invasion of Russia, invasion of a nuclear power by its neighbor. And that neighbor that's invading this nuclear power is using American supplied and European supplied arms like Bradleys and howitzers and all sorts of munition and drones and stuff that has been given to them by the Western world. Like wow, like boy, things sure are different now when it comes to warfare against the motherland. It's weird because someone I heard someone on social media say it's so weird that some of these tanks that Ukraine is using in the invasion have been given to them by Germany, and it's in Kursk, Russia. There was a big, huge tank battle between the Nazis and Russians, and it was one of the biggest tank battles in all of World War II. And here we are, German tanks are battling in Russia again all of a sudden. Like, anyway, um, looking at this, I'm going, how did this happen? Like, Russia seriously didn't have enough of an alert that, mass soldiers and armaments and tanks and howitzers and all this stuff was massing at the borders. Like, I mean, it sounds like Shoigu and Gerasimov did in fact know and just didn't act upon it, which may lead to a whole conspiracy theory that I'll get into in a little bit, in that Russia might have let this happen. But anyway, we'll get to that in a little bit. But the big question is why is Ukraine doing this? I hear a lot of people on social media saying, like, why are they wasting valuable arms and soldiers that they could be using to defend their land? Like, their goal isn't to take over Russia and keep it. And no one thinks that now. No one thinks they're going to just march onto Moscow and take the nation over. No one thinks that. That's ridiculous. That's a fever dream. But so what are they doing then? Because they're obviously marching through the country rather easily so far, might I add. They've taken over more land in Russia than Russia has taken over in Ukraine in the past 6+ months. So what is Ukraine doing? One of the popular things right now is they're trying to get that nuclear power plant outside outside of Kursk to leverage that and get control of the Zaporizhia power plant back under Ukrainian control in Ukraine, or occupied Ukraine. Oh, please share, guys. Okay, thank you. All right. So I'm looking at that and I'm just like, well, it's very arbitrary to think in that, you need a nuclear power plant to trade or leverage to get another nuclear power plant. So I don't know. I don't think that's it. I think the nuclear power plant would obviously be something they would take if they could get it, because then they could just turn off the lights and be like, haha, live in the dark ages, fools. That's what you get for trying to attack us. And help create dissent and hatred of Russia by Russians, and hopefully turn the favor of the war, or excuse me, turn the tide of war of, like, just like have Russians just say, just stop, enough with this, it's not worth it at all anymore. Um, Anyone that's an educated scholar in this, and anyone that's examined the facts, have seen that this was supposed to be just a 3-day special military operation. If Putin could look back and had a crystal ball and saw that this was going to take more than 2 years to do, he wouldn't have done it. There's no way he would have done it. He's wasting so many of his precious resources, stuff that he has banked up, like all the 600 plus $billion that he's rumored to have saved to use for rainy days like this. He doesn't like parting with that wealth, but he has to keep the nation held together. There's a lot of oligarchs that he has to keep happy. If they're not kept happy, then they're going to turn on him. If he can't keep the FSB happy, they're going to turn on him. The FSB will put his head on a literal pike and put it at the top of the Kremlin and be like, does anyone else want to get jumpy with us? Your head will be put on a pike too. Anyway, so what is Ukraine doing here? As for the whole wasting of resources and boots, because there is people from Ukraine, like people people think just because they're making such easy progress that people from Ukraine, soldiers from Ukraine are dying. They're losing some armaments as well. But the thing is, they sure aren't losing a lot to get a lot of land right now. The land that Russia has attained over the last 6 months to a year has cost hundreds of thousands of lives. Maybe if they weren't killed off, they were hurt to the point that they can't serve anymore. But one thing that I think people are losing sight of here is I don't think they understand the dynamics fully of how this war is being propagated by Russia, how it is actually being manned with the boots on the ground and all that stuff. A lot of the far majority of the people that are being thrown in the meat grinders right now are those people that were taken from the jails and the Wagner groups, the people that were tricked to sign up for do some reclamation project or something, however it's phrased in foreign nations. Sign up and go to Russia and help build buildings or something. Oh, suddenly you're holding a gun in the Donetsk region or something, and you're getting shot in the face with a bazooka. Anyway, these are considered the undesirables. The people that have been mostly recruited in this war from Russia are the people that are in the eastern half of the the eastern side of the Ural Mountains, the non-ethnic Russians. These are the people that are mostly being put on the ground, especially in Luhansk and Donetsk right now in Ukraine. So when those people are lost, these are the kids of farmers and peasants and people that aren't going to raise an uproar, or if they do, no one's going to really ultimately care in Moscow. They're going to be like, just police, just shut them up. And they shut them up and no one hears from them again. Keeping the people in St. Petersburg and Moscow happy is Putin's ultimate goal. That's why you don't see those sons on the ground. Now, when those sons are conscripted, which, trust me, they are still, because they have a forced conscription in Russia, those people are given border patrol duties. They're not given frontline duties in wars. Are you kidding me? They're given border control. Just sit there with a uniform on and just, form a presence, because Russia has a gigantic border that has to be manned. If they looked weak on the border against China would absolutely seize an opportunity to be like, Russia is so soft. Why don't we just go in there and take them? That's where the conscripted sons of people in St. Petersburg and Moscow end up. Or they end up in Belgrade, in the Belgrade district. What you're seeing right now is Ukraine is having little border incursions. They're taking outposts, and these soldiers are just surrendering in mass. And in the Kursk region as well, these soldiers are surrendering in mass. Folks, these are the conscription soldiers that are from parents in St. Petersburg and Moscow, getting as many of these soldiers as possible held captive, talking to them, having them come on camera saying they don't agree with Putin, they don't agree with this war and all this stuff. That is worth its weight in gold, because these are the kids of parents that actually mean something to Vladimir Putin. So from that alone, getting as many of those parents upset and seeing their sons being walked across the border into Ukraine and being shipped off into European prisons, or just not prisons, but just holding facilities to be processed. Like, trust me, all their names are going to be gotten back to Russia. They're going to make sure of that. And that's the thing. These aren't the meat grinder soldiers. These aren't the people, again, from the east of the Ural Mountains, the ethnic minorities in Russia. These are real Russians. And people are not stressing that enough, or they don't understand. They think like these people on the border here are just like, they're just like the people that are thrown in the meat grinder. No, they're not. Those are actual conscripted soldiers. Those are actual soldiers that mean something. Those aren't the people that got specially mobilized or pulled out of jail because they had two functioning arms and legs. So that alone, I don't know. I guess what Ukraine is trying to do is spark enough public upheaval to make the war not worth it in any way, shape, or form anymore. And I think that's a brilliant move if that's what they're going for. Now, don't get me wrong. They're going to do things along the way. Like, if they get a chance to get a nuclear power plant, then yeah, obviously they're going to get that as well. Great. Just took the guard off the thing that you hit the buttons for to make the TV and the cable box go on off. Anyway, thank you for bringing that in here, sweetie. It does a lot of use in here. So, yeah, I think this move, excuse me, I'm really choking today. I think this move is a genius military move. And if this is what turns the tide of the war, Ukraine is going to be just seen so gold. Like, Vladimir Zelensky is going to be seen as a demigod in Ukraine because of this move. Anyway, I just think Russia is now getting to the point where they can't risk having any of these conscripted soldiers on the border anymore, which then means they're going to be throwing these meat grinder people in, which are poorly trained, probably have only been in the military but like 48 hours before they were put on the front lines now, which is going to make the border even more vulnerable. Because trust me, Russia and Vladimir Putin, the existence of Russia and Vladimir Putin can't risk Ukraine just going over every single border section that they have left to access and taking all those conscripted soldiers. Because Ukraine has proven that they can't defend that. Russia cannot defend that. They can go over willy-nilly right now and take those soldiers when they want. They don't even need to kill them. In fact, it's more valuable for Ukraine to not kill them. Because again, these are the sons of people that actually mean something to Vladimir Putin. I think people are fully not given that its true value in its true weight. So I think this is a brilliant move going on right now, and I think this is something that can accelerate the end of the war. And I also think it's a sign that Ukraine doesn't fully know or trust what is going to happen, because there is going to be a new regime taken over here in America. And that is one that's either going to be headed by Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. And, they know the familiar thing with the Joe Biden, the Joe Biden camp controlling the amount of munitions that's coming over. But they don't know if Kamala's going to be the same way, if she's going to be more lenient or more stingy with what America is going to give. So this can be a sign that we're not going to take our chances of waiting until November. You literally rolled off a pillow that was on the ground and hit the carpet. What a diva. What a diva. Go give her a hug. Hugga. Thank you. Okay. That big fall crisis averted. Yeah, so I guess Ukraine is just saying, like, hey, we've really got to start upping things here, especially before, I forget the term they use, Zapatista, not Zapatista, the mud season. Anyway, there's a word they have for it when the mud season comes between the seasons of, it comes twice a year, between fall and winter, and then winter and spring. Oh gosh, why am I forgetting the name? Oh my gosh, it's gonna drive me crazy if I can't think of the name of that by the end of this video. But anyways, they got to make a move while the weather is still in their favor as well, and which is conveniently right before things start gearing up before election time here in America. So now, going into what I talked about earlier about Russia potentially letting this happen, give that back to her, please. You're just going to run out of the room with it? Great. Now she's going to scream. He went that way with it, hun. Go get him. You're almost as big as him. You can take him. Anyway, going back to like the whole thing of did Russia just let this happen? I think that is a plausible scenario. There's no way, given the surveillance of Russia and its bordering nations, and the many outposts it has in any given corner of every nation of borders, that they didn't see or didn't monitor with their satellites a significant pickup of equipment and soldiers and tanks and Bradleys, etc., moving towards the Kursk region, the Belgorod regions. They had to have seen this. So Gerasimov and Shoigu had to have known this was coming. But supposedly they didn't blow the whistle to alert and say, like, oh my gosh, send as many conscripts and meat grinder soldiers to Kursk and Belgorod right now. Because maybe they just said, you know what? Let them do whatever they're going to do, because it's going to accelerate the end of this war. Maybe Shoigu and Gerasimov are the ones that actually have a heart and want this war to end. And who knows? Maybe Putin does, but Putin can't. If Putin ends this war willingly on his choice, he's a dead man, so he can't make that call. But maybe Gerasimov and Shoigu can, and will, and did, or helped accelerate that willingly. I think it's going to be telling if we see, Shoigu and Gerasimov, well, Shoigu especially, because he's been personal friends with Putin for a number of years. If they accidentally fall out of the buildings that are very tall and high off the ground. But I think that'll speak volumes about the decisions that weren't made recently. But that being said, like, the optimism in Ukraine has to be just sky high right now. It has to be just sky high. Because they can leverage this land, and if Russia has to take it back, the only way Russia knows how to advance in war is to just blow the place to kingdom come. Are they going to do that to their own land? I mean, they have started shelling back, and, Russians are crying like, oh, my house got shelled and blah, blah, blah. Now, some of it was peripheral fire from, the Ukrainians coming through as well. But Russia's firing back. They don't care if they're shooting at their homeland. But will they level places like what you saw with Bakhmut? Will they pull a Bakhmut on any specific part of Russia to get it back? Because what's the point of leveling it to get that land back when you bomb it to the Stone Age? It means nothing to Russia now, so you might as well just let the Ukrainians stay there, right? Oh, you tell me. But it's getting to the point now where Ukraine is getting so much land that some of the land they're obtaining is getting outside of artillery range already. So it's going to be such a concerted effort. But then again, if you're going to force Russia to give a concerted effort, why not have it be for them to bomb their own land rather than give a concerted effort for bombing land in Ukraine? So there is so many ways that you can look at this that is brilliant for Ukraine. And on top of that is if Russia doesn't get this back, it looks so bad to the Russian citizens. What do you mean Ukraine came in and took dozens of square kilometers of land and we're not getting it back? What do you mean? Like, how is that going to play in the minds of the average Russian? Like, that would be insane. Like, think about that. Think about it from, like, the terms of America. Like, if Canada came in, like, I don't care if it was even, like, just some podunk area of Montana, and they took, like, 50 square miles of it. She's upset because her sock is stuck on her foot right now. What can I say? Socks go on your feet, hon. What do you want me to do about it? Anyways, it would be like if Canada took some just podunk area of 50 square miles in Montana, would you expect the majority of people to be like, well, it's just not really much there. It's a bunch of mountains and rivers, a couple small towns. Like, no, why isn't America getting that back? That's our land. Get it back right now. Like, if you believe the Russian propaganda and we're so powerful and we could take over every square inch of this country if we wanted to, of this world if we wanted to, how are they going to believe that propaganda if you can't even get back an area of the Kursk province? Like, how could the and that is, it's funny because that is one of the things I keep saying to people, like, if this is no big deal, why is the Russian propaganda spinning this so bad and lying about it so bad? Saying, like, you see Gerasimov and Shoigu saying, like, oh, we've fought the intruders, we've killed 200 of their tanks, they've lost 100 personnel every hour of fighting. 6,000 soldiers or Ukrainian soldiers have been pushed back across the border. It's like, no, they haven't yet. You're lying out your butt. And the thing is the day of social media, I know YouTube has been shut down in Russia for the most part, but in the day of social media, so many people are going to be like, they're lying. Like, no, they haven't. There's so many people that Russians know from these regions that they're talking to them saying, like, no, I can't get back into my house. Like, my neighbors have been kicked out as well. We can't get back in. So what's the deal? Propaganda can only spin that so far. And anyway, this is... Can you help her get her sock off? Is it stuck to your foot, silly girl? Anyway, I gotta be wrapping this up anyway. All right, I'll help you solve the dilemma of the sock stuck to your foot in a second, sweetheart. But, Ukraine is just winning on so many levels right now is what I want to get at. And the strategies that they're implementing right now are going to help the acceleration of this war ending. And I'm curious to see what because I ultimately don't know what the ultimate end game or what the thought of going in through what is now the Belgorod region and the Kursk Oblast, what those ultimate initiatives were to do that, other than just knowing that Russia doesn't have the resources to give a formidable defense because they can't even put up enough of an offense with tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of soldiers trying to go into two specific regions in Luhansk and Donetsk and try and push westward from there. Anyway, let me go deal with the stock problem. And I'm sure I'll be back with another video about the presidential elections soon enough. Just want to talk about Ukraine, which is, again, that's like the one main issue that is determining my voting allegiance this year. Anyway, Slava Ukraini. That is all.